Okay, Jeremy Miner, let's make sure that we go live here, checking the connection. Okay, we are live. Let's see, we got some lag here for some reason on StreamYard. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's just me. All right, so we're going live today in 5 different platforms. So we're going live in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. We're going live on our YouTube channel, our LinkedIn channel. We're also going live on our Facebook business page. And there's like 104,000 of you in there chasing around. We're also going live here on my IG phone. I call this the IG phone. All right. We're going to cover something that I know a lot of you lose deals from. I want you to type in the chat. If you get to the end of your presentation or your sales process, I don't care if you sell B2C, business to consumer, or if you sell B2B, business to business, or even B2G, business to government. You go through your sales process, you get to the end, wherever that is, okay? You ask for the commitment for them to move forward and purchase your solution, and suddenly the prospect says, this looks really good, but can you send me some references? Can you send me some clients I can talk to? You end up sending them a few, 2 or 3 or 5 clients they can talk to. Then you call them back a couple of days. Hey, did you talk to XYZ? And they're like, oh, I haven't had time to do that. Or you send them clients and they never call them. Or you send them clients and they call them, but they never get back to you. Type in me if you lose sales every single week, every single month from a prospect who asks for references and then you never hear back from them again. If that's you, I want you to type me in the chat. So if you're in the Facebook group here on my desktop group, the Facebook group or the Facebook business page or LinkedIn or YouTube, type in me. If you're on IG here and you lose deals because of that, I want you to type in me, because today I'm going to give you 3 questions, actually 2 questions that you have to ask to find out what's behind them even asking for references. Okay. I'm going to do that up on my board here. Now, if you are brand new to our Facebook group or Sales Revolution, or you just started following me on YouTube or Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever wherever you're at on which platform, because I'm going live here on StreamYard on my desktop on those platforms, then going live here on IG. So if you're brand new to the Facebook group, my name's Jeremy Miner. I'm the founder of 7th Level. Now, 7th Level, if you don't know, we're a sales training organization. And we train salespeople like you watching me here today. All right, in this blue shirt. We train sales professionals like you. We train sales executives like you. We train sales leadership, sales management, sales, executives. We train entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants, and we train you and your teams specific skilled questions and techniques, especially with your tone as well, that work with human behavior rather than work against it. And what do I mean when I say work with human behavior rather than work against it? Because there's certain questions in your sales process that if they're asked the wrong way, especially with your tone, it triggers sales resistance and your prospects emotionally shut down, become surface level with you. And then when you ask a question, they give you vague or generalized answers. How many of you get that? Okay. So what questions I'm talking about, which I'm going to give you a few of these today in the regards to when a prospect says, send me references. Questions I'm talking about are called neuro-emotional persuasion questions. Write that down, NEPQ. Now, not only do we train you the right questions, but we train you the delivery of how to ask those questions and when to ask them, okay? There's certain questions that you have to ask in more of a curious tone. John, can you walk me through what you guys are doing now for? See, that's a curious tone. There's other questions in your sales process that require more of a challenging or skeptical tone. Like, what are the ramifications if you don't do anything about this? See, that's a challenging tone. And there's other questions in your sales process that require more of a concerned tone, a tone that shows more empathy. John, what's really holding you back from moving forward? See, that's a concerned tone. Are you 100% sure you're asking the right questions in your sales process at every stage? Are you 100% sure you know how to use your tone to disarm the prospect where they let their guard down and emotionally connect the dots with you? Because if you're not, that means you're losing sales that you could be making every day. That our clients who are in the same industry as you, they are making those sales every day. That's why they're making 2, 3, 5 times what you are right now. They just acquired a more advanced sales ability. All right. Now, if you're on the live right now, I want you to grab your phone here real quick. So if you're on the live right now, I want you to go down to your phone, because I know all of you are. Go down to your phone, and I want you to post #live. So if you're on the live right now on Instagram, the Facebook group Sales Revolution, my Facebook business page, my Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or IG, want you to go down and post #live. So if you're on the live right now, go post #live. And if you're on the replay, go post #replay. Now, there's hundreds of you on here, especially IG here. We got 260 people on here. The other channels, we got about 100 altogether. So go post #live. And if you're on the replay, I'm going to have you go post #replay. I better see hundreds of #lives and hundreds of #replays, because I can just go out here and golf. I don't have to show you what questions to ask when the prospect says, send me references, so you actually hear from them and close the deal rather than chasing them. I don't have to give you this today. All right. So go post #live. And if you're on the replay, I want you to go post #replay. Now, I also want you to go grab your phone, and I want you to smash the like button, and I want you to smash the heart button. So smash the like button. I better see hundreds of smash likes, and I better see hundreds of smashed hearts. So smash the like button, smash the heart button. We've got Ace in here, who works in our revenue office. That's our fill-in videographer today, because our videographer is missing today. So Ace, well done on the camera setup. Well done. This man can do everything. He can do operations, sales, training, videographer. He's just a man of many talents. All right, so smash the heart button, smash the like button. I want to see hundreds of smashed likes, and I want to see hundreds of smashed hearts. All right. All right. Now, let's cover enough about me. None of you guys care about me. Now, also, here's what I'm going to ask you as well. Who in here wants to, this is really a cheesy question that I'm about to ask you. Type in me if you want to make twice as much than what you are right now. So if you're making 40 or 50 grand a year in commissions, or if you're making 80 grand a year in commissions, or 20 grand a year in commissions, or 100 grand a year in commissions, or 200 grand a year in commissions, I don't care. Type in me if you want to double that. I'm dead serious when I ask you that. Okay. Type in me if you want to double what you're making right. That's an obvious question, which is really an obvious answer. All of you want to do that. Okay. Now type in me if you can double your working hours that you're working right now. Type in me if you can work 2 to 3 times harder than what you are now. Type in me if you can double the working hours you're working right now. Nobody should type that in, because that's not physically possible. You're already working 8 to 12 to 14 hours a day. Are you going to work 16 to 24 hours a day? Probably not realistic. You're going to burn out real quick. So if you can't double your working hours to double your income, what do you have to do? Well, it's easy. You have to acquire a more advanced sales ability than what you currently possess. Because how can you double your income if you use the same sales ability you have now? Be pretty damn hard, right? Okay. So we're going to give you a little teaser today. So if you're the person who wants to start making your first 10 grand a month every month with what you sell, or if you want to start making your first 20 grand every single month in your industry right now, I'm not joking, or you want to start making 25 grand a month or 30 grand a month, or if you want to think big, like a lot of our clients who are probably in your industry, and you want to start making 35 or 40 or 50 grand a month, every month in commissions in your industry, I want you to message me directly right now. So if you're on Instagram, LinkedIn, the Facebook group Sales Revolution, my Facebook, the Facebook business page, message me directly right now. We'll message you back some different training options we have for your industry if you want to make that type of money. Now, if you don't want to make more money, then you don't have to. You can just keep selling the same way you always have, and you get the same results. Okay? So if you're on LinkedIn, you'll have to join our Facebook group there, salesrevolution.pro. It's right there on the banner. All right. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about first, and then I'm going to give you these questions. So you get to the end of your presentation, your sales process. Like I said, if you sell B2C, B2B, it doesn't matter. At the end, they're like, wow, this looks really good. But before we move forward, can you just send us some references? Can you just send us some clients that we can talk to? And then what do? Oh, yes. And you give them 2 to 5 to 10 references. And then you call back a couple days later, and most of those people probably don't even answer you, right? Or you call them and you're like, hey, did you talk to Cindy and Jack and Jill or whoever? And they're like, or did you talk to this company or that company if you sell B2B? And they're like, oh, I haven't had time to do that yet. Well, what do you do then? Or you call them and they're like, yeah, we you called them and you talked to the references and they're like, yeah, they called us a week ago. And then you follow up with them. And then surprise, surprise, they never get back to you. Okay. So I'm going to show you what to do to get behind that. Because when a prospect says, can you send me references? Do you know why they ask for that? It's because there's certain things that you said in that sales process or conversation, certain things you said, questions you didn't know how to ask, or the way you use your tone that has triggered uncertainty in that prospect's mind. And when the prospect has uncertainty, they don't what? They rarely buy. So when they say, send me references, that is because they have uncertainty about what you're promising them can actually happen. So there's a concern behind that. So when a prospect, does that make sense to all of you? When they ask for references, it's because they have a concern. But the problem is you're not finding out what the concern is. So when they call the references, have you ever noticed that you get back to them as well? And they'll call the references, they had talked to the references, and they're still not moving forward. Even though the references you gave them are obviously your probably best references, they're still not moving forward. They're like, well, I talked with Cindy, but their situation's different than mine. Or I talked to George and he's just short, so it works for him. Or I talked to your company, XYZ company, but they're in a different industry we are, so it wouldn't work for us. And they come up with another excuse. It's because you've triggered uncertainty in their mind, okay? That's exactly why a prospect asks you for references. I'm not talking about referrals. I'm talking about references, okay? They're not moving forward, so they're asking for proof. You call them, they've gotten the proof, they talk to the references, but they still don't move forward, okay? Because you didn't know how to build a gap. So I'm going to show you how to get over this, all right? Now, sometimes, I want to give you a warning here. Sometimes references can be a good thing for them to talk to, for them to feel the certainty to move forward with your solution. But it has to be done the right way, okay? It has to be scheduled, and we have to know what the next steps are after they've talked to the references. Because if you don't, as you know, you're unlikely to land that deal. I think you already know that, right? You always experience it every week, okay? However, sometimes it can be an excuse to get rid of you. So I'm going to show you what questions to ask to find out and then schedule the next steps. Okay. So if you're on IG, I'm going to move the phone over here so you guys can see that board. Can you guys see that board? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to show you, I do my best to show you guys this so you guys can see that. Okay, good. All right. Okay. I'm going to go real fast through this. So make sure you guys write this down. Okay. My ears are popping. I don't know. We got high elevation down here in Phoenix. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so you're in the conversation and the prospect says, hey, this looks really good, James, but can you send me some references from other clients you have? Now, if you say yes, and you just send them to them right then and there without knowing what they're going to ask the references or why they're wanting to talk with the references and schedule the next steps after they talk with the references, you are most of the time unlikely to close that deal, okay? So I'm going to show you what to do instead. Now, remember, the main thing is when a prospect asks for references, we have to find out what the real concern is on why they want to talk with the reference. There's obviously a concern they have that is causing them to want to talk with a reference, one of your clients. So we have to help them find out what that is and usually help them overcome it on that same conversation. And most of the time, they won't even have to talk to a reference. All right. I can't count how many times I did this in my sales career where they asked for references at the end, which is usually very rare. Maybe 1% of my prospects would, but 99% of those, I'd never even have to send references because I'd find out their concern, help them overcome it, and then they never needed to talk with the reference. They're like, okay, I'm good. Prospect says, hey, can you send me references from other clients? Here's what you're going to do. You just agree first. Yeah, that's not a problem. You just agree. Don't say, why do you want references? Why do you want to speak with my clients? Don't say that. If you get defensive, they're going to get defensive. It's over. So you just agree. Yeah, that's not a problem. Now, I'm just curious. What would you like to ask them when you call? Yeah, that's not a problem. What would you like to ask them when you call, just so I understand? Or, yeah, that's not a problem. Now, I'm curious. What would you like to talk to them about when you actually call? Or what would you like to ask them when you call? Now, notice that's a curious tone. Okay, write this down. Your tone is how your prospects interpret the meaning of your question, right? Let me repeat that again to you. Your tone is how your prospects interpret the meaning of every question you ask. So why would I want to ask this in a curious tone? Because when I ask in a curious tone, they're like, okay, they're asking me, like they're curious. So they're curious back and they answer the question. They open up. Yeah, that's not a problem. Now I'm curious. What would you like to ask them when you call? Did you see my facial expressions? Yeah, I'm curious. What would you like to ask them when you call? Well, I want to talk to them about. Now, whatever they say about, that's the concern. Okay, now let me show you a different example of this. I'll show you one that's even better. Okay, so we're going to agree first. Yeah, that's not a problem. Now, just so I can send the right people to you, what specifically would you like to discuss with them when you talk with them? This is even better. Write this one down. This is even better than the first one I gave you guys. Okay, write this down. Yeah, that's not a problem. Now, just so I can send the right people to you, what specifically would you like to discuss with them? Now, whatever they say they want to discuss with those clients, that's your what? That's the real concern. Okay? Well, I want to talk to them about how your ABC product would integrate with our XYZ platform. Well, I want to talk about the coverages that they saw and what's that's done for them. Well, I'm just unsure about X and I want to ask them if it works for them. See, whatever they say there, that is the real concern. Do you want to stay there and address that concern and help them overcome it? Well, yes, because if you help them overcome that right there, most of the time they don't even need to talk with references. So when they go out and talk to references, it just delays the sales process, right? Okay. Now, even if they still want to talk with the references after, and I help them overcome their concern, when they talk with that reference, they're more than likely to do what after they talk with the reference? Purchase what you're offering rather than ghost you or come up with different excuses about, oh, well, that client's different because our situation is different than theirs, because they'll make up all sorts of excuses. Do you see what I'm talking about? Okay. Now, here's what I want to do right now. Okay. So I'm going to do this. I want you to hear my tone and watch my body language again. Hopefully you guys can see me on Instagram here. I'm mainly doing this on my desktop on our YouTube channel and Facebook group and business page and LinkedIn too. You guys there. Yeah, that's not a problem. Now, just so I can send the right people to you, what specifically would you like to discuss with them? Now, notice how I slowed down that question. Why would I slow down that question? Why wouldn't I say it like this? Yeah, that's not a problem. Now, just so I can send the right people to you, what specifically would you like to discuss with them? Well, see, when I ask a quick question like that, I'm going to get a knee-jerk reaction from the prospect. They're not going to think deep about it. But when I slow down my cadence, yeah, that's not a problem. Now, just so I can, send the right people to you, what specifically would you like to discuss with them? Now, when I slow down my cadence and I slow down my tone, what happens is that triggers the prospect's brain to think deeper about the question I just asked. Okay? Is that something that's good for you? Probably so. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to go to the next question because we're not done yet. This is very important that you understand what to do here. Now, let's say they come back, and I've only got to hear about 5-6 minutes. So let's say they come back and they say, well, it's just a lot of money and I'm wanting to see how quick I can get an ROI if you sold something in that industry, like an ROI type of solution. Okay. Now, then I might say, yeah, that makes sense. Now, whatever concern they have, I'll just throw something out. Let's say they tell you the concern. All right. Let's say if they're like, well, I'm not quite sure how it would integrate with our software over here with ABC platform. I'm just making something up. Then you can say, yeah, that makes sense. Now, when you say you wanted to know how it handles in the ABC area, what's behind that, just so I understand? See what I just did there? Curious tone. So if the prospect says, well, yeah, I want to talk with a couple of clients because I'm concerned about how it's going to integrate with this, or I'm concerned that it might not work for me, or I'm not quite sure if it would work well over here. Ah, okay, that makes more sense. Now, when you say you were concerned about it working for your space, what's behind that, just so I understand? Did you see my body language, my facial expression there? What's behind that, just so I understand? See, that's a curious / concerned tone. Now, then they tell me, okay, and I'm there to help them overcome that concern. All right. Now, we don't have time to go into different concerns right now, but let's say that you still can't help them overcome the concern, or let's say that you help them overcome the concern, but they still want to talk with a few of your clients. Here's what you have to do. You have to know what happens. What are the next steps after they talk with the client? Because if you just, here's some numbers, call them, you're dead. You're going to be chasing them all of the time. And all that does is lower your status in the prospect's mind. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, when do you plan on calling them? Just so I can let them know to see if they'd be available for you. So they're like, yeah, we overcome their concern, blah, 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 blah. Like, I still would like to talk with a few of your clients. You can't just like push them out of that now, but at least you've resolved their concern and said, yeah, that makes sense. Now, when do you plan on calling them so I can let them know to see if they'd be available for you? Now, why would I want to ask them when they're planning on calling them? Or I could say, that makes sense. Now, what's your time frame on calling them so I can see if they'd be available for you? Now, why would you want to know what the time frame is? Because if you don't know when they're calling, you don't know when you're going to be meeting with them again. You're clueless. You're in chase mode. So you never want to do that. Okay. Let's say the prospect says this. Well, I could probably call them tomorrow afternoon. So the prospect comes back and says, well, I could probably call them tomorrow afternoon. You say this. Okay, well, what I can do, Sally, is I can reach out to them to see if that would work for their schedule. Notice how I'm raising status here. I'm not just giving them random numbers, hope and pray they call them. Okay, so what I can do is I can reach out to them to see if they'd be available at that time with their schedule. Now, here's the important point here. Watch this. Okay. Now, let's pretend for a moment that, the clients you talk to, obviously they say good things about how we're able to solve the same type of problems that your company's having. At that point, where do you think we should go from there? Or at that point, where should we go from it? What would be the next step in your mind? Okay. Now let's pretend for a moment that the clients you talk to say good things about how we're able to solve. Now, instead of saying the same type of problems, you actually plug in their problem. That would be industry specific for you. Okay. So let's pretend for a moment that the clients you talk to say good things about how let's say if you sold solar, I'm just going to throw something in there, about how we were able to lock in the rate and lower their bill. Okay. At that point, what would you want the next step to be? See what I just did there? You're just plugging in the real problem. Don't say same type of problems. That's too vague. It's too generic. Okay. Okay. Now let's pretend for a moment that the clients you talk to, they say good things about how we were able to solve XYZ problem. At that point, what would you want the next step to be? Now, if the prospect says, we would do business for sure, then it's a done deal. But what if they say, well, at that point, I'd have to see if I have the money for it. Or at that point, let's say if you sold B2B. Well, at that point, I'd have to talk with my division manager to see if we could get the budget approved. Or at that point, I'd have to talk with my spouse. Or at that point, I'd have to consult with my financial advisor. Well, now you have what? Other concerns that you have to stay there and deal with. Otherwise, there is no deal, even if they call the clients. See what we just did there? Okay. All right. Hopefully that gave you a little tip. I've got to jump on one of our client training calls here in about 2 minutes. Now, if you want to start making more money than you are now, okay? So if you want to be like the tens of thousands of our clients that are in your industry, okay, that now make 10 grand a month in commissions, that make 15 or 20 grand a month in commissions, or if you want to start making 25 grand every month in your industry, or 30 grand a month in your industry, or 40 plus grand a month with what you sell now. Because I can assure you, we are already training thousands in your space that are quite literally doing those numbers every single month. That when they came here 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, we're in the same situation you're in. Even if you're already doing good, and let's say you're making 150,000 a year, or 200 or 250, well, how are you going to get to 400 or 500,000 a year in your industry? By saying the same things and asking the same questions you are now. So if you want to start making that type of income, like our clients who are in the same industry as you, message me directly right now. So if you're in the Facebook group Sales Revolution, or LinkedIn, or the Facebook business page, or my Facebook, or IG, love you guys over here, didn't want to not include you, message me directly right now. Okay, now if you're on YouTube, you'll have to join the Facebook group. It's on the little purple banner that's flying around there, salesrevolution.pro. Or if you're on IG, make sure you join our Facebook group at salesrevolution.pro. I'll have somebody on the team here post the Facebook group. We go live in there 2 or 3 times a week, different Q&As, different trainings. We give you little nibbles. You want advanced training like our clients go through, training calls every single week, live and recorded, our virtual training platforms. Message me directly right now for your industry. I can assure you, we are training people in your industry that are making 2, 3, 5 times what you are now. They drink water like you do. Rumor has it they brush their teeth, they tie their shoes, they even wear pants every day. The only thing that separates their income from yours is they've learned how to work with human behavior rather than using traditional or consultative selling techniques that typically trigger sales resistance where your prospects emotionally shut down. So message me directly right now and we'll talk about it. We'll have a brief conversation, either myself or somebody, one of my stunt doubles on the team will message you back some different options that we have for your industry if you want to make that type of money. All right, I got to get off here. I've got a client training call with a couple hundred souls here in a second. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We will go live in the Facebook group at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow inside the Facebook group only. We don't go live on IG on Wednesday. So IG, if you want to get in the Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. See you guys soon. I got to get on a training call.